Hey guys, so this is this week's video on trail running, and today I'm going to talk about handling steep climbs or steep descents. I know last time we talked about technical climbs or technical descents. Today we're going to talk about what to do when you come up with a really steep or really long or really steep and long hill. And this is important because it's one distinction between trail running and road running. We can have some very, very hilly road runs, but a lot of times in trail running, a big difference is going to be that elevation, the faster elevation changes, the longer races, the longer elevation changes. So what to do and when. So again, this is kind of important also if you study your race course, because you can often study your race course in advance and you can see what the climbs are, you can see what the descents are, so you can, train in very specific ways and be prepared to do that, because some of this is going to require practice and just doing it, time and time again. With that being said, you don't want to all of a sudden go from just running on flats to running on a whole bunch of hills. Just integrate this into your workout, little by little, so that your body has enough chance to adjust to it. So basically, if we come across a steep hill climb, and I know I've said this before, it's a huge difference between road running and trail running, is a lot of times road runners get to trail runs and they just absolutely don't want to walk. They refuse to walk, but this hill area is one place that's really going to get you in the end. Now, it kind of also depends on the length of your run and the size of the hill. So kind of a rule of thumb some people go to is if you cannot see the top of the hill, you're probably going to want to start walking up that hill. If you haven't studied the course before, this is all new to you, and that hill just looks like it's going up and up and up and up, you're probably going to want to start at least power walking the hill until you can kind of see what's going on, especially if the hill is very steep. If I can see the top of the hill, I've got energy. This is at the end of a race. I'm probably gonna, do my best to go like a bullet up there to reach the finish line. If I'm completely exhausted at the end of a race, the end of an ultra, something like that, right? I'm probably gonna try and walk some of that, run it. Just do the best I can to get to the top of the hill. So the other reason is kind of like an energy saving device. So we want our energy and our effort to be fairly consistent through the race. If you continuously run, especially, some hills really up a mountain, they could actually be taking hours. And so you could actually get your heart rate above the aerobic zone to where you're going anaerobic and you're really wearing yourself out and you're really burning the carbs, and you're just going to, you might have to DNF the race if you don't conserve your energy in this way. So that's another reason why, walking or power hiking, can be recommended in these situations. If the hill is runnable, you can run at a relaxed pace. Make sure your strides are shorter. If you're taking really big strides, you can waste a lot of energy going up that hill. You can also combine this. You can combine a walk-run strategy. Say some parts of the hill are steep and then some parts are runnable. You can, kind of walk up the steep parts and then, run on the runnable parts. The other thing is if you're coming across the end of a race, again, if you're very tired, you may want to power hike up it. And sometimes you have to kind of, lean a little bit forward and press up on your thighs, to try and give yourself some leverage just to make it up that hill towards the end. One thing I will say is you want to have good calf flexibility when you're going up a hill, especially on a trail hill, especially with a steep climb, because you don't necessarily want to just go up on your toes. You go up on your toes, you really wear out your calves. But notice if I have good calf flexibility, I can use more of my foot to actually climb up the hill, but I'm going to need that flexibility in my calf. So that goes back to your stretching and mobility routines, especially with time limits in a race. It's fine to walk up hills, but kind of, keep tabs on how you're doing it. Are you just kind of doing a zombie walk, spacing out? Are you really trying to run when you can and then, walk when you need to? And again, remember to run or handle a hill by effort and not necessarily pace. So, if you're going up a hill and you're trying to run up that hill and you feel like your effort is going really, really high, 7, 8, 9, and you cannot see the top of that hill, you want to go by effort and not necessarily your pace. Sometimes it can even be hard to walk up or hike up a hill, so you have to control your pace even when you're walking or hiking, depending on the terrain. Downhills can still be technical. They can still have the loose rocks. They can, still have the conditions we talked about last week, but even for a longer time. So you really want to judge your terrain. Is this something that's going to be, easy to manage, hard to manage? So that's going to play into how fast you're able to handle the downhills. Sometimes when we talk about other sports like skiing, we say to judge your line. Like, how are you going to make it down the hill? Is it a straight down? Are you curving? Kind of what's at the edge of that hill too. You don't want to barrel down a hill. It's got a sharp turn, somewhere that you're not expecting, and then, something really bad could happen. So, again, shorter strides going down a hill, longer strides can be harder to course correct. So if you take a really big step and start to slide, that can be harder than if you're taking the shorter strides. Also, longer strides cause more what's called an eccentric contraction of the quadricep. And downhills are notorious for tearing up your quads, and that eccentric contraction is why. It's a specific type of contraction that happens when you're going down the hill. So if you're taking really big, strides down a hill, it's more of that eccentric contraction, which is, maybe okay if it's like a really quick short race, but over the duration, it can really work against you. So again, remember to kind of control your stride length. Also, kind of at the same time, holding yourself back. I know we touched upon this last week, but holding yourself back can really cause a braking action and make you kind of, hesitant and lean back, and that can contribute to yourself falling. It can contribute to yourself to premature fatiguing. So really commit yourself to that hill. Again, that doesn't necessarily mean, completely barreling down, but just facing it with confidence, having a good posture that your center of gravity is directly above the line of your feet. You're not leaning forward too much. You're not leaning back too much. And again, if you feel the need to go real slow, that's fine. I would rather do that than feel unsafe, on terrain that I'm going with, because it does need a lot of practice to really handle downhills very well. This is another example where trail shoes with a lot of grip or teeth can help you, and help you control your motion when you're going down the hill. And again, this takes practice. This really does take a lot of practice. And so I really recommend being cautious when you're doing these downhills, especially very long downhills. If you know that you're going to have a lot of downhills and uphills in the course, of course, when you're training, you're going to want to gradually add those in. Sometimes you have a course like, for example, Pikes Peak Marathon, where you're going all the way up. I mean, the course terrain basically looks like a pyramid. You're going all the way up on one side and then all the way up on the other side. And a lot of times I recommend, especially if you don't live in a place with elevation, to get on a treadmill that has decline, or prop up the back of the treadmill on a couple 2x4s. And, you want to very gradually do this, but build up to where you're used to doing a lot of downhill, because that can cause you to DNF prematurely, because it will really tear up your quads, or at least, not have a very good time for sometimes weeks after the race. So you really want to be prepared for these long, steep uphills and these long, steep downhills. And the other thing I will advise is to just remember that a trail is different at different times of the year. So, something that you feel is manageable at, maybe in the summertime. In the winter, if it's covered with ice, or in the spring, if it's really muddy, it might be a little bit more difficult. So just remember that the trail will change, just like the flat trail will change, these hills will change, and the elevation will change. So, if you've got a race coming up, or if there's just a trail that you like, but it's got some steep climbs, just remember that trail is going to be different at different times of the year. So you're really going to want to be prepared for that too. All right, you guys, so this week, Tuesday, I want you to try some strides in your run. And on Thursday, or your next workout, try to find a hill, a fairly steep, long hill, and try some of these techniques. You don't have to do constant hill routines, but, just try and work it into your routine, and let me know how it goes. All right, you guys. AMIE at runningwithlife.com. If you have any questions, let me know. Chat later.